If you're welcoming, welcome. If you're arriving, welcome. Wow, I'm still in that loopy place. Jeff did an arrival practice for us. Anna has been a great member of Changing Work for a long time now. She is the editor of our Changing Work review, and she has some special stuff for us to share today. So thank you, Anna. Welcome.
Hi, peeps. It's nice to see everybody here. We're a small group, so I want to give permission from the beginning to take yourself off mute, ask a question, give input. I want this to be your session. So we're going to talk about having a conscious career, embracing the intrapreneur in you. So before I do that, let me start with just a really quick introduction. I'm Anna Oakes. I'm a speaker and a coach. Here you see I gave my TEDx talk a few years back, and that's a picture of me coaching some female founders in India. We had a startup retreat for female Indian founders, and that was a delightful event. And then those are my babies. So most importantly, I'm a wife and a mom. My husband, Scott, and then we have twins who are in 8th grade, Astro and Juniper, and I adore them. And as Scott said, another role that I play is the volunteer editor of our Changing Work Review, which is our quarterly e-magazine. If anybody is ever interested in writing for that, certainly reach out to me, get me on LinkedIn. We'd love to have your voice amplified in that way. All right, so let's dive in. What are we going to use our energy for today? First thing, I want to kind of acknowledge where we are in the world. Second, I want to introduce the concept of intrapreneurship, right? What is this concept? What is the mindset? I want to give you 4 rules to remember about entrepreneurship. And then we're going to do an exercise together, which is, I hope this is the bulk of our time, the power of visualization and really bringing our desires and our passions to light. So that's how we're going to spend our time. Questions before I get started?
Sounds great.
Awesome. Thanks. Okay, so let's just talk about where we are today. These are just some of the headlines, right? The current state of workers is not really in a good place, right? Employee engagement in the US has fallen to its lowest level in a decade. Only 31% of employees are engaged. The percentage of actively disengaged employees, so these are employees who aren't just disengaged, they're actively disengaged, right? They're not quietly quitting, they might even be loud quitting. So the percentage of those individuals has also risen to 17%. And those are levels that we have not seen since 2014. So we want to be paying attention to this, right? Because overall employee satisfaction is now at a record low, and workers are seeking new opportunities because of it. It impacts the way that we live, the way that we work, the way that we show up. All this noise. And that's on the individual part, but let's take a look at the environments in which we work, right? What are the current state of the companies, the systems in which many of us work? I'm a firm believer that the environment matters. We hear a lot about company culture. And specifically, I want to pause here and say that I define culture as the outcome of our work and behaviors. So said another way, culture is the outcome of how we treat each other, the way that we get work done, the written and unwritten rules, and the application of our strengths. So creating and sustaining these systems, these companies, which employ so many of us, is no easy feat. I know it's hard to run a company. I know it's hard to keep all your employees satisfied, right? Even research from Moodle finds that job burnout at an all-time high, 66%. 24% of workers report feeling stressed because they have more work to complete than time to do it in. And another 24% say they don't have enough resources or the right tools to do their job. So we've got all this noise coming, and then we have these fractured, imperfect systems in which we work. And it has a cost. It has a cost to our stress levels, but there's also a a financial cost. Researchers found that healthcare costs at high stress companies are nearly 50% greater than other organizations. So their health costs are higher. According to SHRM, the Society of Human Resource Management, employee turnover triggered by toxic culture costs US employers nearly $50 billion per year. And that was before the Great Resignation began. So it's gotten a little tougher since then. So this is just kind of our current state, right? We've got a lot of noise happening over here. We know that our systems are imperfect. This noise exhausts us. It's noise that makes you question yourself. It's noise that distracts you from maximizing your impact on this world. So I want you to just like grab a piece of paper and a pencil near you, close to you. If you don't have anything to write on, pull up a little note or a blank email in your computer. And I just invite you, I'm going to give you a couple minutes to answer these questions. How have you been influenced by this external noise lately? How has that impacted your outlook? And how has that impacted your performance? So I really want you to strip away any thoughts that have been binding you or distracting you. Take a deep breath, quiet all that noise, not just the noise of the day, but the bigger noise that impacts not only how we see our work, but the impact we can make with it. So let's take a few minutes and just consider how this noise has impacted our attitude and our performance. Another 30 seconds. All right, friends, welcome back. I really hope that was a start to a productive reflection exercise for you. Self-reflection is part of building self-awareness. It's a practice that we need to create time for in our lives. So thank you for joining today. Thank you for giving yourself this time to self-reflect and think about the impact of these external forces and how they might be altering your performance, altering the impact that you're making. Because it's really important, guys. These are the beginnings of a conscious career, a career that's held with the respect that it deserves. I really think work should be revered. Like it is the main tool that we have in this life to make an impact on this world. Like we're going to get paid to do things that could leave a lasting impact. And that's whether you're working in service or you're working in professional services. Like it runs the gamut. I really want us to take back that control and put ourselves in a position to make our career much more conscious than it has been before. Because I believe we've given up like far too much of our control over our careers. And that is to both the company we work for, the bosses that we report to, even the expectations of coworkers, right? Like we've just given up so much of our control. And I want you to reclaim that time, that talent, that voice. It's yours. It's yours to use as you want to, not the company you work for, not the boss that you report to. And I really believe that we can reclaim our careers. If we do that, we're going to start a revolution that will fundamentally change the way we work and the impact we can have on this world. It's why I'm involved with changing work. I want it to change. I think the lead singer of the band, The Doors, if you guys know The Doors, it's a classic rock band. This is one of my favorite quotes by the lead singer, Jim Morrison. The most important kind of freedom is to be what you really are. You trade in your reality for a role. You trade in your sense for an act. You give your ability to feel and in exchange put on a mask. There can't be any large-scale revolution until there's a personal revolution on an individual level. It's got to happen inside first. Love those words. So let me tell you a little story. It was 2005. I had just moved to Milwaukee, Wisconsin to start a new job. And so far, my background at work had been in customer service industry as a leader. So my new job stayed in that lane pretty well. But I was there a couple of months into my new role, and the company was growing so fast. I found myself talking to the CEO after one of our company updates, and he was predicting our future growth, and it was big. So I asked him a few questions. I asked him how, looking around the room, like, how are we going to pull that off? Like, how do we achieve that growth that you want us to achieve? Did he have plans for the type of talent that we needed to build up internally versus the talent we needed to go look for? And what were they going to do when they got here? How would we attract them to this company? Long story short, I am asking these questions, and he answered something to the effect of, maybe you can tackle these questions. So I thought perhaps that meant a short-term project to determine a good strategy for how we get the talent we needed to grow like we wanted to. But fast forward a couple weeks and they're moving my desk to HR. And at the time I knew nothing about HR, but I took a pause and considered the opportunity. I saw a gap in the way that we were building our employer brand, and now I had an opportunity to fill it. And isn't that what entrepreneurs do? They see a gap and they fill it well. So I thought, could I do the same thing as an intrapreneur, choosing to use my strengths, target their application strategically, but do it while choosing to work for someone else? So for the last 20 years, I've either operated as an intrapreneur or guided companies to create cultures where intrapreneurs can thrive. And my hope is that you adopt an intrapreneur's mindset and double down on maximizing your impact right where you are. You do not have to change jobs to do this. So let's start with the definition of intrapreneur. If you Google it, you're going to find the definition that says an intrapreneur is a manager within a company who promotes innovative product development and marketing. But I want to pitch you an alternative definition that's far more inclusive. So I believe an intrapreneur is a human who understands their strengths and wants to apply them in the best way so they can make a big impact on the world around them. Just like an entrepreneur, they see a need and they aim to fill it to the best of their ability. They just choose to do it while working for someone else instead of for themselves. So I've been studying intrapreneurs, interviewing them, writing about them for over a decade. And I found that there's really three types of intrapreneurs, or I'm going to bucket them into three types. First one is these are the workers who are dedicated to their job they fill at the company they work for. But this is not your average worker, though, because remember, I already told you that 31% of workers are truly engaged in their work. Only 31%. So you can't perform well if you aren't engaged in your work. You're phoning it in, you're half-assing it, pick your colloquialism, like you're not giving it your best. But the intrapreneur, on the other hand, uses their job as a tool to make an impact on the world around them. And these people, these actively engaged intrapreneurs, research shows that they enjoy their work more and certainly have a bigger impact than their checked out coworkers. So we've got org life, somebody who's dedicated to their job. Next up, the other type of intrapreneur I meet is someone who is pairing their main job with a side hustle. So in this gig economy, there's tons of opportunities for someone who knows their strengths and wants to apply them in targeted ways, both at work and on their own time. So when I was an executive, I found myself a little disengaged because I was further away from creating the actual work of our department. I spent more time approving and providing feedback on other people's work than I did have time to create my own. So I started a photography business on the side, and it was a great addition to my life, and it really helped me feed the creative side of mine that I wasn't getting fed in my normal day-to-day job. And honestly, it made me happier in my day job too, and it made me more effective because I was feeding that creative side, which helped me bring my creativity back to the workplace. Third type of intrapreneur is the intrapreneur who has their eyes on entrepreneurship. So maybe this is you and you've already identified a need in the market that you want to serve, or you have the desire to be your own boss someday. Like, I know it sounds very attractive. It's not as easy as it sounds. But let's go with this. You've got your eyes on this. And by the way, I know many who bounce back and forth between an intrapreneur and an entrepreneur. I myself have had my company for 9 years, but went back in-house for a little over 2 years, like 3 or 4 years ago. So I took a little stint. I just switched the bulk of my hours being spent on my main company to the bulk of my hours being spent on the job I was hired to do. So regardless of what category you guys are in, the goal I hope you get is to embody an entrepreneur's mindset so that you can use your time, energy, and strengths for maximum impact at work and in this world. And the cool thing about an entrepreneur's mindset is it is tailored to you. But I do have a couple common characteristics that I want to show you because I do think that they're going to help you be even more impactful. The first one is curiosity. Entrepreneurs are super curious. They are often called innovative. I think we overuse that word, and that's why I tend to use the word creative and curious. But curiosity, more than creativity, is about getting something answered, about understanding further. So I see entrepreneurs really curious. The other thing that impactful entrepreneurs are is self-aware. Cornell University did a study, and they wanted to know what made the CEOs of successful companies so successful. So they got the results back, and they were interesting, right? It wasn't strategic thinking. It wasn't analytical thinking. It was how well did they know themselves? If they were self-aware, they were going to be more successful in the CEO role because they knew what they were really good at. They knew probably what they weren't very good at and could surround themselves with the right people. So this self-awareness, if that works for CEOs, it's going to work for us too. That's going to be our predictor of success. Do we know ourselves well enough to be able to work with others and collaborate with others to fill those gaps? Third characteristic is they want to make an impact. Like they want to make a difference. And interestingly enough, Google back in the day did some research on what makes high-performing teams so high-performing. And having meaning, having an impact is one of the 5 things that teams need in order to be high-performing. So it makes sense that this high-performing individual of the entrepreneur is also going to care about making an impact. Now, I've already told you that the environment matters, right? So it's not just up to you. I realize you work in an environment with lots of other people and lots of culture. So let's talk about what the entrepreneur needs in order to thrive. When they are not leveraged and led effectively, and notice I said both, they need to be leveraged, like, oh, are you putting my strengths to use? And they need to be led effectively. And when they are not leveraged and led effectively, they appear to be hard to manage. They're often disenchanted with their role. They get easily distracted, right? Like squirrel, squirrel. And they're good at creating ideas, but not always good at seeing them through, and definitely not as good at pitching them. But when they are led effectively and leveraged, they tend to be big problem solvers and innovators, self-starters, involved in a variety of ideas and projects. And again, they have similar traits as entrepreneurs, but choose to work within organizations. That's the major difference. See a need, fill it, get to work. So I have this disclaimer because, again, I know that you all work in systems that are imperfect because they're made up of imperfect people who are fallible. So I know the grass is not greener on the other side. It is just a different color, and there is always dog poop in the yard. It is our job to pick it up. Okay, so the grass is not greener on the other side. It's just a different color. They're just different cultures. And there is always poop in the yard for you to pick up. There's always opportunity to improve your surroundings. You should never be, there will never be a shortage of work for you if you continue to look around for opportunities to fill a gap. They exist all around you, especially at work. I'm going to pause here and see if there's any questions, any hand raises. Happy to expand on something, answer any questions. Awesome. I'm going to count on y'all just jumping in and unmuting if you have any questions. Happy to chat. Okay. So let's move on to the 4 Ps of entrepreneurship. And this is something that I spoke about when I gave my TEDx a few years back. I wanted to give some guidelines, and they're not necessarily rules, they're just guidelines to what, when you think about an entrepreneur, I want you to remember these 4 Ps. First one is profile. There is no one right profile. Your strengths and style are what make you valuable. There is no single path to success. So my best advice, embrace the journey, make mistakes, change your mind, focus on what energizes you rather than trying to fit into a mold. Build your confidence by recognizing that diverse leadership styles are what drives innovation and change. And don't be so perfect, right? Perfectionism is linked to higher anxiety, burnout, and imposter syndrome. That was a 2019 study by Harvard Business Review. And a few other studies also show that people who embrace a growth mindset, again, things can change, things can get better, are more successful because they see challenges as opportunities rather than threats. And that is so entrepreneur, guys, right? They see challenges as opportunities rather than threats. I want in on that challenge. I want to see how I can affect it. I want to create some change. Because there's no perfect strengths profile or perfect way to build a career or a personal brand. So don't wait for perfection because it's only going to lead to paralysis. So no one right profile. That's our first P. Second P, pressure. I want you to let go of the pressure to find a singular purpose, right? Purpose evolves over time, guys. Experiment with different opportunities. Clarity comes from action, not just reflection. So you got to practice this over time. And that passion follows that effort. So lean into what interests you and see where that leads. Remember that every experience you add, every experience you have, I should say, will add to your journey. Third P, give yourself permission. Now, I've talked a lot about the environment that entrepreneurs need. Support comes from the environment, but permission to be amazing comes from you. You have to give yourself permission to be awesome, to be amazing, to be an entrepreneur. And it's hard because we spent our whole lives asking for permission to use the bathroom in school, permission for our guidance counselor. My kids are getting permission from their guidance counselor on what subjects they should study in their high school year that'll lead them to college. Like, permission is just baked into how we are raised. But when we get to our age, of whatever age you are, you can give yourself permission that says, I'm not waiting for anybody else to tell me that this is okay. I want this for myself. I'm going to give myself permission to step into this and move self-doubt out of the way. Okay, our last P. This one's a little hard. I come from the Midwest and people think it's just Midwest nice, but listen, I have worked with clients all over the world and this is not just Midwest nice. This is like human nice. Humans just are raised not to brag, right? We think it's bragging, but I would say it's not bragging, it's business. Because if you don't promote yourself, nobody else is going to. You know, I did not grow up believing this because I wasn't taught, but having the experience of watching people go through the process of giving themselves permission and then starting to promote their ideas to people within their organization is such a magical experience. Like, you just create so much more fulfillment for yourself and you have opened up these avenues and it spreads. Like, the entrepreneur mindset spreads to other people. They're going to see you on your toes, being impactful, taking the initiative, and they're going to want to do that too. So I want to pause here on the 4 Ps. I want you to go back to your scratch paper and I want you to think about these, right? There's no one right profile. Let go of the pressure, give yourself permission, promote your value. Which of these Ps do you struggle with the most right now? And what's one action that you can take to strengthen that P? Just one step. What are you struggling with right now? And what's one action you can take? I'll give you a few minutes to take that. All right, peeps, welcome back. Hopefully that was another good pause. If this was just the start of a reflection activity for you and you felt like you had more to give, I would really invite you to come back to this later, right? Don't just do that 2 minutes and be done. Come back, journal a little bit more. Ask yourself which of the P's you're struggling with really specifically, an action that you can take, and what's that going to create for you? Give yourself permission to spend time on this, thinking about this. All right, so let's dive into our main activity. This is going to be about the power of visualization. You will need your phone in a moment just to scan a QR code. So have those ready. So I want to talk about visualization because I think it's just a super powerful tool for us to define. People always think it's about the visualization, which I understand that it is, the visual image that you create, but what it requires you to do is it starts with defining what you want. And we don't do that enough. Why am I doing this action? Where is it going to lead me? Why is it important? Is this the best use of my time? One of my favorite questions that a coworker used to ask is, what is the highest and best use for my time? And I thought that was brilliant. Like, what is the highest and best use for my time? That's what visualization is going to help us with. Figure out, what is it that we want? What is it that we are passionate about, if you want to use that word? And look, studies have demonstrated the effectiveness of visualization. Like Olympic athletes use it, and they have like 70 to 90% benefits because of visualization. And I think there's a stat like 1 in 5 entrepreneurs use vision boards. I think it's more than that. But it's a great way for you to set up what is happening now and what you want to have happen next. So we're going to dive in. So we might have been exposed to areas where we had to be passionate about one thing, where you were supposed to stick to one sport, one career, one hobby. I mean, again, I gave you the example, my 8th graders are being asked what they want to be when they grow up, and they're putting them on the track already, right? And then we get on this track and we sort of stay on it. But I'm a firm believer that our passions should look more like patchworks, like patchwork quilts, right? And we should all reserve the right to change our minds. If we're passionate about something for a little while, it doesn't mean that we have to carry that on. My daughter the other day said, Mom, I think I've seen you try 4 hobbies this year. And I was like, yep. And I liked them all, but I didn't love one enough to stick with it yet. Right. So I'm just instilling her that, yes, we can try many things and change our minds about what makes us happy. And we often lose touch if we are looking at one square instead of the whole picture. We're missing our larger impact on the world and the humans around us. So similar to a quilt, I really want you to give yourself permission to have numerous things that fuel you in your life. Because here's the thing, passions evolve over time, right? There is power in being a generalist. If anybody has read, oh my goodness, what my brain is like, Range, there we go, by David Epstein. A great book. Like, he's got a lot of great research and statistics in there about the power of being a generalist. So again, giving yourself permission that says, I don't have to stay with one track. I can try different things. I can apply my strengths in different ways to see what the outcomes are. And you have potential to make an impact on many things. Again, not just one thing, on many things. And we want to remove that power that says only one area of our lives gets that. Like maybe you're somebody who's given too much power to work, and you need to start giving power to other things in your life to diversify your patchwork quilt. So that's where we're headed, guys. We want to embrace this visualization. I'm going to give you the QR code. So if you scan this, it's going to take you to Canva, and it'll pull up a document, and you can look at it on your screen. You can follow along. If you have a printer, I welcome you to print it out. This is one of our signature exercises that we use with our clients. It is really powerful. I do it annually. Some people do it more often. I think it's a great practice, and I'll walk you through what it looks like. Okay, so we're going to do this together. So you pulled it up on your screen, but I'm going to follow along here so you can see. So step number one, I want you to take some time to reflect on your now. I want you to list roles that you fill, right? Some people say like the hats that you wear. What are the hats that you're wearing in your life currently, in and out of the workplace? So be specific, list fulfilling activities that you engage with and make time for now, but only things that you make time for, put those on your list. So hats that you wear and activities that you make time for. I'll give you 2 minutes to do that. All right, about 30 seconds. All right, peeps, let's go to step number 2. So we've understood the roles that we're playing and the activities that we're spending time on right now, right? So this step is all about visualizing where you are right now. You've made the list. Now we want to use the blank patchwork to visualize the life you want. So if you have scratch paper, feel free to draw some squares on a page and work to see how you can visually bring to life what your now is looking like. And I want to show you some ways that that could look. So here's an example, right? Somebody drew pictures on the left, somebody used clip art, somebody wrote words on the right. Both of those are fine. You do not have to be an artist to do this activity. We're just trying to get down visually, what are those roles you're playing? What are those activities you're spending time on? And I want you to look at the size of the squares of the patchwork. I want you to pay attention to those, right? Put something in the big box that is actually taking most of your time. Where do you want those? How do you want to represent how much time each of these things is taking in your life right now? And you can see on our template, we've got some small boxes, we've got some medium-sized boxes, and we've got some big ones. Again, you can draw your own. We just want you to take a minute, and I'll give you just 1 minute here. As you keep sketching that out, how can you visualize where your now is? All right, peeps, let's move on to step number 3. So we have thought about our now. We've visualized our now. Third step, reflect on your next. right? Take a look at your now passion patchwork. Does it look how you want it to look? Think about the roles that you do want to fill, the hats you do want to wear, the activities you do want to do, the ones that bring fuel to you, and make a list. Make a list. What do you want the next to look like? What hats do you want to wear? How do you want to be spending your time? For me, I would say, which of those 4 activities, those 4 hobbies my daughter pointed out, are any of them viable to make a habit out of, right? So I'd be asking myself questions like that. So I'll give you a few minutes to reflect on your next. What do you want it to be? And listen, folks, like this exercise can bring up some real tough emotions for some people and some tough realizations, right? Maybe you weren't even able to fill 5 squares of thinking what your now looks like, right? Or maybe your biggest squares are also your biggest sources of stress and dissatisfaction. So you need to make them bigger or excuse me, make them smaller on your patchwork. It's okay if you've got some of these emotions coming up. This is an exercise that you can pick up later when you have time or when you have support set up for somebody to talk to. But for those that have made their list, this can be a really fun activity too, right? To think positively, to think about the future, to think where are you headed? How do you want to use your talents? How do you want to use your strengths to maximize your impact? So that 4th step, guys, we're going to visualize our next. Just like we did with the now, we're going to visualize our next. So here's a visual example for you. Let's say the one on the left was the drawing that I did first. Then you can see the one on the right has some of the same things, but I moved them around slightly, right? The briefcase for me symbolized work. I moved it from the biggest square to like one of the medium squares. Like, yes, it's important, but is that really what defines me? No, I put my family up in that corner, or my dog, or running, or live music, or dinner with friends. Like those are things that appeared on my next. And that's how I visualized it. So I want to give you a minute, sketch out what that next looks like, bring those words to life with some type of visualization, even if it's only stick figures. All right, let's move to step number 5. I want you to take a minute to review your now and your next. Compare the 2 patchworks. Look at both of them. What stands out to you? What would you like to change? And most importantly, what steps will you take to ensure this changes? So let's take a few minutes of self-reflection. Let's use these visualizations that we've done and create a plan for change. Give you a few minutes to do that. All right, peeps, let's bring it back into the room or our virtual room. And one reminder that I want to give you as you work through this is like you can revisit this exercise anytime, right? Or some people who do it quarterly, some twice a year, whatever you want to do. But I also want you to remember that you reserve the right to change your mind. It's one of our family mottos in our house since the kids were little. I can change my mind 1,000 times because you can. You can swap things out on your patchwork. That's what's so powerful. If something's not working for you anymore, take it off your patchwork. Stop spending time or stop spending so much time on it and decide how you're going to exchange that energy for things that are going to fuel you and help you maximize your impact both at work and in your life. So I'd love to open it up and I just hear maybe from a few people what came up for you as you were working through this. What specifically stands out to you in your now and your next?
And for me, sometimes I find that this can be really hard
Yeah,
because there's so much wrapped into the current, the now, our identity, our patterns, our habits, our inertia.
yeah.
And so to change, sometimes it feels like the changes are big and impossible. Sometimes it's like, oh, just a few little tweaks and there could be progress. So I'm wondering how you think about that. I'm thinking probably like bite-sized chunks is helpful to put into practice.
Oh, yeah. This is about slow shifts, right? This is about the way that we spend our time. So, for example, if you said you want to make time for a new hobby, for a specific friend, make the goal how much time you're going to spend with them. Is it 1 hour a month? Is it getting together for a happy hour? Is it reading that book? What is the thing that you want to spend time with and make sure that you do, right? That's where it starts, is making these little habits. And I think, yes, if you see something on here that is going to cause big change, that's something that you're going to want to talk to a partner like a psychologist or a therapist, a really dear friend, somebody that knows you well to support you during the shift and talk to them about what your vision is. Visualize that future, share with them some of what you're wanting to get towards and see how they can help you. Yeah, what else? Thanks, Scott. What else, guys?
Find I'm in a different place. I went through a similar exercise, Anna, recently where I mapped out how I'm spending my time today and how I'm spending it in the future. And being the analytical person I am, I used a spreadsheet to generate a chart and all that fun stuff. And I'm thinking about a pretty dramatic change in leaving corporate employment, and thinking about all the ways that would free up time. And then I'm hearkening back to your comment about, or your framework about permission and giving myself permission. And I had got myself to a point where I had the plan and I'm executing the plan and I'm at the tail end of the plan and I'm ready to move forward. And then I got contacted by a headhunter about a different job. And I thought, wow, this job sounds really intriguing, but I was measuring it against my old possibility instead of my new possibility.
Yep.
While it sounds like a nice step and it's something I can more easily give myself permission around because it's a less of a risk.
Yeah.
If I measure it by current, wow, that seems like a really neat opportunity. But if I measure it by future, do I really want this? And can I take that risk? And am I giving myself permission? And all of a sudden, I find myself going down this other path. So that's a little insight into my crazy brain.
No, I think that's great, Jeff. And again, I have seen many entrepreneurs bounce back and forth from entrepreneur to intrapreneur. Again, side hustle, full hustle, whatever that looks like for you, give it a try. The thing that I want you to remember about preneurship, whether you're an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, I mean, two things that I've learned both as filling both roles is that you can have an impact no matter which role you choose. And you can start exactly where you are right now. You do not have to go get a new job. You can ask yourself, how can I double down on where I am right now so that I can maximize my impact and get me ready for whatever my best next move is?
Mhm.
That experience helps you get ready for the best next. Thanks, Jeff.
Mhm.
What else?
Aaron says, it can sometimes feel like a luxury to be able to make career choices outside of what we are today.
Oh my gosh, it does feel like a luxury, but I think that's where it goes to what I just said. Honestly, Aaron, is it doesn't mean that you have to make a career change. It means that you can change your career trajectory. You can start where you are today. It doesn't have to be a big change. Awesome. So I know we are close to the end here. I just want to say I appreciate all of you joining today and taking time for yourself and that self-reflection. I hope that I've given you some good tools in your toolkit that you can come back to, spend more time on, and use that to really declare what your direction's going to be, because I'm really excited to see how you all maximize your impact. I want to thank Changing Work and thank you, Scott, for having me.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Our pleasure. Thank you, Anna, for sharing. And thanks everybody for being here and participating. You know, when we think about changing work, what do we talk about? Changing work from the inside out. And this is the type of thing. Like, this is hard. This is the nuts and bolts of our managing our own careers, our own lives. So thank you to Anna for giving us some frameworks to help move that along. Let's see, a couple of announcements. Let me pull up my links here. One is we have a couple things going on in Changing Work. If you'd like to write a book with us, some of you have been doing that already, but we have the next few that we've picked titles for. I'm going to post something in the chat there. The next one is on courage, which I think will be very interesting to see what people come up with. And that's our book 4, and we have book 5 and 6 named as well. And also next month, we are starting a community learning experience or group coaching. So if you want to go deeper, like on a regular basis, the idea is that we'll meet once a month as a group, and then every other week, also once a month, as a small cohort. You know, think of it like a group of people you're really committed to learning with, like whatever, Bible study or Sangha or AA or whatever it is. I really think it's going to be powerful. So check those out if you're interested in kind of deepening your practice and deepening your engagement. So sorry for the announcements, but that's what's happening. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, and thanks everybody for coming. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day.
All right. Bye, friends.
Thanks so much, Anna.
Friends.
Take care.